Hello. What I'm going to cook today is a beautiful piece of fish. Fish I'm using is John Dory, but this will work perfectly with any fish. You can keep it on the bone or off the bone. I just think this is a particularly good way of cooking fish on the bone. What I'm going to accompany that with is some very simple Pak Choi, kind of an all-in-one pan dish. And I'm going to just kind of garnish it more than anything with some nice little vine cherry tomatoes. And what I'm going to serve with this mainly is the sauce, which is one of my favorite fish sauces, and that's a Croatian Ajvar. You'll find this sauce, some variations of it around the Balkans, and it is delicious. It's one of the most versatile sauces I know. And what it is basically bell peppers. Now, I should be cooking this on a barbecue or in a nice wood oven and getting a lovely smokiness into the peppers. But what I'll do is I'll cook them in the oven and then kind of take most of the skin off them. And I'm going to cook them with plenty of garlic, roast them all first, and aubergine. The main two components are the bell pepper and the aubergine. I'm also going to spice it up. I'm going to use 3 chili peppers, but the chili peppers I'm using, they're not too hot. So if you're using, say, a habanero or something like that, use less. If you have mild chili peppers, or depending on your taste, it's one of those things it's impossible to say exactly. And then a nice piece of garlic as well. And I'm going to use about 10 cloves of garlic in this because garlic, when it's roasted, becomes sweeter and loses its intensity to a good degree. By right, I should be using a Croatian vinegar, which is 10% acid vinegar, a very acidic vinegar. I'm going to use, unfortunately, I don't have any of that one because they don't tend to sell it in Ireland so much. But I'm going to use Chinese rice wine vinegar, which is a lovely mellow vinegar. White wine vinegar in Croatia itself, as I said, they use quite a coarse tasting vinegar. Well, it's strange, it's very acidic, but it's not that coarse. And I'm going to just finish with olive oil. And so I'll go through those sauces in a while. But first of all, I'm going to just very quickly prepare my fish. So this fish I'm using is a John Dory. It's one of those fish you have to be a little careful with because it's got quite large dorsal spines and they can give you a nasty old jab. This will work, as I said, with any other fish. But I'm just going to very quickly take the head, the tails and the spines off the fish. I'd recommend you keep those, put them in a little plastic container, freeze them. They're one of the best stock fish you can get. So let's take the head off. Put that there. I'm going to just wipe the tail off very easily. And you'll probably find the scissors, and of course your fishmonger will do this for you. I'm just making life hard for myself really. Now with the John Dory, as with many fish, you want to come in a little bit because there's a kind of in around the gill where these little fins come out. There's little small bones and you want to kind of get those out of the fish. So, and as I said, these trimmings, keep them. If you wanted to make a lovely ramen or something like that, or any dish using a stock, all you'd need to do is pop those into a piece of water, boil them up with maybe some aromatics, some spices, maybe a little bit of star anise or something. And then very simply, what you do is drain it all off, get all the bones, you're left with the liquid and you have a beautiful fish stock. And especially when you're using a very high quality fish like John Dory, stay with that, keep those bones. And you'd probably find a scissors tends to work a lot better for this. So there's my fish trimmed up, my head and everything else. Now what I'm going to do is give a nice heavy score. Another thing with fish as well is probably follow your nose is the number one way. If you have the whole fish, look at the gills. The gills should be a lovely bright pink red color, but the best thing is follow your gills. The fish should be kind of a slimy to feel, not kind of any kind of sandpaper grittiness. And also the flesh should be plump. If you push into that flesh and the indentation from your finger doesn't come back out again, that fish is probably well on the way out. So good fishmonger is the real trick here. Get a good fishmonger and they won't steer you wrong with fish. So with that, there's my fish, all nicely seasoned, and what I've done is quite a deep scoring in that. And now what I'm going to do is just take a piece of greaseproof paper. I'm just going to push my chopping board forward a little bit so I don't get my fish everywhere. And on that fish, I'm going to just give I don't want to lift over my salt and pepper because I don't want to get fish all over the place. I'm just going to give the fish itself a light little salting and a light little peppering. I'm going to take my olive oil, a little drop of olive oil on there. I'm not going to put my veggies or anything else on like that because the Pak Choi can be added in later. Just going to oil that a little bit. Place my John Dory down on that. And then I'm going to very, very simply wrap all that. It's kind of a double wrap. I don't actually need so much. Sometimes if you wrap it too heavily, the heat doesn't penetrate easily into the fish and it doesn't cook so well. So I'm just going to wrap that up into a nice, neat little parcel, kind of think Christmas cracker. And I'm just going to pop that on a roasting tray and leave that ready to go until I get my Ajvar, which I'll go through in a little while. Now to make my Ajvar, what I've done is I just cut my aubergines into nice big chunks. Likewise my peppers. Now traditionally I should be roasting these peppers and then peeling them. But I kind of like, from an anti-inflammatory point of view and keeping the fibre there, I kind of like to keep the skin on them. So I apologise for adulterating a recipe a little bit and a traditional dish, but I'm just going to kind of do it anyway. So there's all my vegetables. I'm going to pop those into the oven and roast them till they're nice and smoky and roasty. And as my vegetables are cooking in my oven, I'm now at this point going to add my garlic. I added a little bit later because the garlic doesn't require quite the amount of cooking, and I wanted to get also a little piece of moisture in the pan. Now the garlic I'm using, it's kind of a big cloved garlic. It's almost completely clove, but it doesn't really matter. It's only a type of garlic if you like. But as there's a little bit of moisture in this pan now, I'm going to mix all those together and back in the oven and give them a good roasting. To make my Ajvar, there's my garlic, my peppers, my chili peppers, my aubergines, all nicely roasted. Now, ideally, I'd be cooking this on an open flame and getting them really charry. But for now, this is fine. And I'm just going to pop those into a pot now. And into that, I'm going to add my vinegar. And yes, you use quite a lot of vinegar in this. And I'm also going to add my oil. Just a minced garlic there. I'm just going to bring those up to a gentle simmer and cook them until they all infuse together. As my Ajvar is cooking, I'm now going to take my fish, a lovely little piece of John Dory, which has all been trimmed up, deeply scored, all ready for the oven. I'm going to wrap that up and I'm going to pop that into the oven to kind of steam in its little paper parcel. French call this cooking en pompilot. And with my Ajvar, now normally in Croatia this would be a very slow process to cook, but I'm going to cook it a lot quicker than that. And now, when all your vegetables, your peppers, your aubergines, your garlic is all good and tender, I'm just going to give that a blending with a hand blender. You could put it into a food processor. I just think the hand blender is just as easy. So having blended my Ajvar, as you can see, I have a lovely thick consistency. And also, as you can see, I've made quite a bit of it. And that's for a good reason. This is it's essentially a relish, this, and it gets better as it's stored. So what I don't use for a fish today, I'm just going to pop into a jar, and I'm going to just put those on storage and allow those to get better, because this gets better when it's stored over a period of time. Because again, it's got a very, very low pH with the acidity from the vinegars, and this will just become, it's essentially a beautiful type of relish. Now, as my fish is cooking, it's starting to steam lovely. It's more cooked on the side that's on the pan. Now what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to open up my packaging, because I want to make this a lovely whole, everything finished in one place fit dish. So around the dish, I'm now going to just take my Pak Choi and just kind of surround the fish with the Pak Choi. Very, very simple. And now I'm just going to take my little vine tomato, just cut them a little bit off the side. Fresh drizzle of a little bit of olive oil around everything, not much. Fish is seasoned, but I'm just going to put a little pinch of salt on those veggies. And maybe just a pinch of pepper on them. And now I'm just going to pop that into a good hot oven, 220 degrees, until everything is cooked. And there I have it. My beautiful John Dory on the bone, fully trimmed down, the vegetables with it. And then a nice thing to do is just serve it, smear a little bit of the Ajvar on top, not all over it, just a little kind of drizzle around here, little on the veg, just around the place. And you know, I'm going to just very simply serve this in the paper it's cooked. So I'm just going to get a good suitable size plate. I'm just going to very simply pull the whole thing onto the plate and serve it just as that, with a nice generous helping of my Ajvar on the side. Don't forget that's quite acidic anyway, so you don't need to really worry about lemon or anything like that, because there's plenty of acid within this particular sauce anyway. And just to finish the whole thing, I'm just going to give a very, very little drizzle of a good olive oil. And there we have it. Our grilled John Dory with Ajvar, some grilled vine tomatoes. Absolutely lovely, simple. And a great thing with this dish, you'll be able to use that Ajvar that you've preserved in your jars and maintain it and keep that for, you know, that'll last for a number of weeks quite comfortably. So enjoy it.